Peace and blessings, everybody. I'm DJ Ples Jones, and artist, let's have another mental health moment. And I want to apologize in advance. If you hear some noise in the background, yes, they are doing construction on the street in front of my apartment, so I apologize in advance for that. But today, I think we're going to talk about something that all of us as individuals and artists can relate to, and that's identity, creativity, and reinvention. I think all of us at some point of our time in our life as an artist or even as an individual, we experience an identity crisis, a creativity block, and I really hope that you appreciate this session. So, if you feel like a fraud every time you call yourself an artist, then this is for you. And listen, I'm saying this with real understanding because I've been there. Let me say that again, because I want you to actually feel this. If you feel like a fraud and every time you call yourself an artist, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not crazy. I need you to hear that from someone who gets it. I get it. Here's what's actually happening. It's that feeling that you have, the imposter syndrome, right? That voice that says you're not good enough, you're not talented enough, you're not a real artist. That feeling only shows up in rooms that matter to you. So I want you to sit with that for a second. So think about it. You don't feel like an imposter when you're doing things that you don't care about. You feel like an imposter when you're stepping into something that actually means something to you. That's why it hits so hard. So if you're feeling like a fraud right now, it's because you're doing work that matters. It's because you're stepping into something that is real. And your nervous system, it doesn't always know the difference between growth and danger. So let me repeat that. It's because you're stepping into something real. And your nervous system, it doesn't always know the difference between growth and danger. I know that sounds wild, but it's true. And here's where most artists get stuck. They deal with the imposter syndrome the wrong way. They try to outwork it. They try to prove themselves. They hustle harder. They post more. They release more music thinking, I'll just do enough. Maybe I'll finally feel legit. But that's not how it works. And I'm telling you this gently because I had to learn it the hard way. Imposter syndrome isn't a skill problem. It's an identity problem. You don't know where you are as an artist yet. And when you don't know where you are or who you are, every piece of feedback feels personal. Every critique feels like proof. Every song that doesn't land feels like confirmation that you're a fraud. You're a fraud. And I get why that hurts. Because it used to hit me the same way. Now let me tell you something that I've learned in the 20 years of doing this. The artists who make it aren't the ones who feel like imposters. They're the ones who actually have done the identity work. And I say that with real respect because most people skip this part. They know who they are and they know what they stand for. They know their story. And because they know their story, they stop shaking every time an opinion or comment or algorithm shifts around them. There's steadiness to them. So let me repeat that. Because they know their story, they stop shaking every time an opinion or comment or algorithm shifts around them. There's a steadiness to them. But here's the thing that artists don't realize, and I wish more people said this out loud. You can't do identity work alone. You can't see your own blind spots. You can't see your own patterns at times. You can't see the story you're telling yourself about yourself. Let me repeat that. You can't see the story you're telling yourself about yourself. And it's not because you're weak. It's because nobody can see themselves clearly without reflection. Let me repeat that. It's because nobody can see themselves clearly without reflection. That's why you need people. That's why you need community. Again, that's why you need community. That's why you need a safe space where you can actually process what's happening inside of you. Again, we all need a safe space where we can actually process what's happening inside of us. Because when you're isolated, your brain loops the same 3 questions. Am I good enough? Is this worth it? Should I even be doing this? Again, is it worth it? Should I even be doing this? And then it loops nonstop. But the moment you get into a room with other artists who are on the same path, something shifts. You start hearing your own struggles coming out of someone else's mouth, and it hits different. You start thinking, hold up, that's not true about them. So maybe it's not true about me either. And you know, that's a powerful moment. That's clarity showing up. And safe space does that. It gives you perspective. It lets you see yourself the way others see you, not the way fear sees you. Let me repeat that. Safe space does that. It gives you perspective. It lets you see yourself the way others see you, not the way fear sees you. So I need you to really hear this next part, because this is where most artists get tripped up. Imposter syndrome doesn't disappear when you get more followers. It doesn't phase because you drop more music. It fades when you actually know who you are. And you have people you can reflect that back to you. And this is level 4 in the artist immunity blueprint. Esteem, identity, and story. But it's also level 3, belonging, community, and a safe space. Because honestly, you can't build level 4 without level 3. You can't know yourself clearly if you're doing this alone. So let me give you a real example. I've worked with artists who are unbelievably talented, like gifted, in a way they don't even recognize. But they can't see it. They're trapped in their own head, comparing themselves to everyone, convinced they're not enough. Then they step into a room with other artists, and somebody says, "Wait, how did you do that?" Or somebody else says, I've been trying to figure this out for months. For months. And suddenly something clicks. They realize, oh, I actually know something. I actually have value. That moment right there, that singular moment right there, as, oh, I actually know something. I actually have value. And that moment right there, you can't force that with logic. You can't self-talk your way into that. It happens in community. It happens in dialogue. It happens when people are honest with you and you are finally honest back. This is why most artist programs fall short. They give tips, strategies, information, and that's all useful, but none of it helps you see yourself clearly. And so you end up stacking skills on top of a shaky identity. And when the foundation is shaky, everything else feels shaky too. That's why adding more hustle doesn't fix imposter syndrome. It just tires you out. So here's the shift I want you to make. Stop trying to outwork imposter syndrome. Start building your identity inside community, because that's where the real breakthroughs happen. That means finding people who are walking the same road. It means having real conversations, not just networking stuff. It means being in a space where you can finally say, I feel like a fraud. And someone can look at you and say, yeah, I felt that way too. And here's why that feeling isn't telling you the truth. And that's what the Artist Immunity Blueprint Preview Session is. It's not a webinar. It's not a sales pitch. It's a safe place for real dialogue about identity, about imposter syndrome, about building a career that doesn't crush you in the process. February 18th, that's the day. And if any of this conversation hits you in your chest, if you've been feeling like an imposter, if you've been doing this all alone, if you're tired of the mental loop that never stops, then you need to be there. All right? You need to be there. Because here's the truth. You're not a fraud. You're building something real. I'm sorry. But isolation distorts your view of yourself. You need perspective. You need a safe place. You need community. And that's what unlocks everything. Hopefully I can get this noise out. So your action step for this week, ask yourself one question. Who am I as an artist? Because it's not who you're trying to become, not who you think you should be, who you are right now. Who are you right now? Write it down, just one sentence, then pay attention to what comes up. Again, write it down, just one sentence, then pay attention to what comes up. The resistance, the fear, the I don't know. That's the doorway. And that's the work we're going to step into further on February 18th. You're not behind, you're not untalented, and you're definitely not a fraud. You're just trying to find yourself in isolation. And that's no good. And isolation makes everything harder. So comment AIB if this hits you, and I'll see you on the 18th.